Welcome to Divine Honey Podcast. I'm your host, your friend Tamika Johnson.
And I'm your co-host, little brother, Tim Johnson.
If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This show is about human experiences. This includes thought-provoking conversations and our Divine Honey guest sharing stories about love, life, journey, and purpose. If you're watching live or on the replay and you feel inspired, show some love in the chat. This is your inspirational podcast.
Yeah, show that love because we need these ticks in here, man. Let's get these impressions. We need this to go
Yes.
viral, baby. Turn this up.
Thank you for that, Tim. So today our topic is love, growth, and connection, navigating marriage, dating, personal and spiritual transformation. So we want to welcome our guest, William Jackson, a devoted husband, father, and educator. William combines his passion for Christ consciousness, personal growth, and the betterment for his love for his family. And interesting enough, French baking and educational consulting. His inspiring journey encourages others to an awakening to their higher selves through thoughtful reflection and creative expression. Welcome, William.
Big
Oh,
Willie, what's good, boy?
what's up, man? That was a beautiful intro. Thank you.
Uncle Will, what's happening?
Oh man, I just happy to be here. Beautiful Sunday, a little cold outside, but just to be able to spend this afternoon with two people who we go way back, family, long time.
Yes.
So this is awesome. This is so
Yes,
cool
sir.
that you guys are doing this.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
welcome
we're
to the
happy
show,
you
bro.
came on.
Facts.
Yeah.
Tell a little
yes.
background about you and Tim, though.
So, I call Tim my brother from another mother. We've been going back since like what, 2010, 2009?
Yeah, bro.
Me and
Summers.
Tim, the summer workouts. I'd come pick him up in the Pontiac Grand Dam. We'd make it. We'd either run around for a little bit afterwards, eat something. But we
Try
would
to find something to eat, rather.
Yeah. Other than a Jack's Pizza.
Right.
So through football, and then we ended up living together for multiple years through college. I think if there was anybody who I lived with the longest, it'd be you. So
Yeah.
And did we live together as adults? After college? No, I don't think so. I think we just were in Des Moines and so.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, I would consider Tim family. I know there was a couple of times where I had to throw hands in the club just to keep homies off my little bro.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
bodyguard out here, cuz.
It's nice having one of those.
For sure.
So I'm glad you decided to come on, and just tell us how you chose this topic and why did you want to speak on this.
Well, I've watched a few of you guys' shows. I think you guys do a great job of getting into certain conversations that are worthwhile, and I felt like, okay, well, if I'm going to get on this podcast and bring something worthwhile and enlightening, I've got some pretty real lived experiences with my journey and finding love, from my troubles with my relationship with my mother to finding love in the wrong places, to finally being in a committed relationship for 5 years that has really molded me and shaped me in different ways, that makes me realize things, and my role as a father, and so I think that we all have probably some great questions and answers for each other as far as our own shared experiences, and I bet we could get into some interesting things when it comes to sharing stories of love. I mean, Tim's been a part of this roller coaster of mine for a long time.
Facts.
And I'm sure he's happy that, I finally have found someone that can settle me down and help me learn a thing or two. So
100%.
Mhm.
I'll go ahead and pop this off. Or go ahead, Tamika. You got something?
I just want to say that I do appreciate you coming on, because it's great to hear the male perspective, because I'm a woman, so I'm around mostly women. So we talk about us finding love in the wrong places, and us being some of the women being parents, but we forget there's a male component, and you guys have your journey and feelings too, and have been hurt and have found love in the wrong places as well. So thank you for being willing to share.
I'm looking forward to hopefully having something useful to say.
Yeah. No, you're always very thought provoking and passionate about it. So I'll go ahead and kick us off, bro. So in finding Katie, hopefully she's cool with talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. She
So,
knows.
yep. So Katie's dope, man, and just tell us like relationship with when you moved from Iowa to be closer to Weston, and then you left back to Minnesota to go figure out life.
Yeah.
Tell us what that was like for you in making that decision.
So I think we're like, just to kind of give it a little bit of a timeline. Weston was born in 2014, and right after college, I had moved back to Minnesota. So I was in
Yeah.
Minnesota. Weston's mother, who is not my fiance, we had kind of ran back into each other after a hiatus of a few years, and then I think it was a divine inspiration for Weston he just needed to be made. And unfortunately, we didn't work out because I went out there, and it just, I don't think we were right for each other, me and his mother. But he again, I think it was divine that he just needed to be made. And so sticking around after that relationship ended, sticking around was really tough. It was hard to almost have my hands cuffed as far as how I could father him, because that was my whole purpose. Once he was born, I was just working to be a father, and trying to support him and have a place for me and him to be able to be father and son. But there were just some issues with my relationship with her and how we got along, and I think we were trying to figure stuff out, and I think I was also looking for love in other places, and I think she wanted me to be more interested in her. And I think because of some selfishness and some short-sightedness, I had not had my priorities straight, and she kind of like took them out from under me. And I was only able to see him a couple days a week, and that really threw me into an interesting thing. So I had to get up out of there, man. I think I was having some issues with just perception of myself. Really sitting alone in my apartment at night really got to me sometimes. I needed to step out, but I thought I could maybe make a new life out in California. So I headed west, like the Great Escape, just headed west. I had some family out there who I thought, reconnecting with at that point in my life would have been crucial, and trying to get some fiscal prosperity. My dad was a general contractor, so I thought going out there and trying to get, into some work with him would be great. But things just kind of went sour, and long story short, I found myself actually in a really scary situation. I think my life could have been forever altered had the path, had God not intervened yet again in my life and really set me straight. So after that, I came home, and just got back to grinding. I've been trying to work my way back to financial prosperity and to closer to my son. I ended up getting my master's degree while I was here, up in Minnesota, and what a blessing, just to add that to the income potential. And found myself a great partner who has really helped me really straighten my head on to go the right direction with, a partner. And having a partner, I know you can attest to this, Tim, being married, it's a challenge, but it's a great challenge because you really find out what you're made of in a lot of ways, and how empathetic you can be, and how selfless it's important to be,
Right.
So that's been a really interesting journey, but making my way back down to Iowa, man, that's the main goal. I won't say it's the end goal, because I think the end goal is our 100-acre lot with a couple mansions on it.
We need it. We need the compound, baby. Come on.
Yep. The more people that like this video, the closer we get. So come on.
Boost us up. So you speak a lot about faith in there. What has been your journey with your faith, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh man, that's probably been one of the most interesting elements of my life. I think growing up, my family was always Christian Baptist. My mother had never really demanded I go to church, but my father's side of the family and my grandmother, they were pretty involved. But I don't think I got baptized or saved or anything until I was like in high school. I'll never forget, my cousin had taken me to this thing. It was called the silver ring thing. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it was all about like abstinence and trying to get young people to keep it in their pants. And so he had brought me to this retreat, and it was all about like saving yourself and like trying to truly find love and find God. And I think it just kind of woke me up to some elements of how living for yourself can really lead to some self defeat. It can lead to a lot of running running through paths that lead off cliffs. And I started to really get into the beginning of it. Really started with just like basic Christianity, reading the Bible, trying to understand. And I think I was a big reader when I was young. And I tried to comb through the Bible, I think the first time before I was even like 15. And when I say comb through, I mean, we'd heard stories, but I'd really tried to read it like front to back, like it was a book. And that was a challenge, but I think it gave me some perspective. And that was early high school. And I think continued to live a pretty lukewarm spiritual life throughout high school. And then really even like towards the end of high school, shied away from it. Like really felt like there was like it was all indoctrination and a bunch of, ways to control people. And then I think freshman year of college is when it got real interesting, because there was a lot of like finding out history and finding out a lot of the things that were mainstream about the religion that I had learned. They came with a lot of like, they were truly elements of Roman control. And like, I really rebelled against that and found other religions. I got into Islam and started to learn about Islam, got deeper into Judaism, wanted to learn about Hindu and the Ayurveda. And then even got into some Taoism and Buddhism to learn about that culture. And it all brought me back to Christianity. But with a much different perspective. I think that I understand Christ and Yeshua, the story of Jesus, to be a little bit different. And really the message that I kind of look at now in the New Testament is how he really promoted for us as individuals on this earth to be tapped into the Father the way that he was, to be able to impart the love on this world the way that he did. And I think that where I was kind of stuck in that first phase was thinking that Jesus was God and Jesus was the end all be all. And it was the sacrifice that Jesus made that gave us life. And to me, it didn't sound right. It didn't feel right. But after learning all the different cultures, can I tell a story? I like to tell.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, go for it.
And so there's this a Buddhist koan, they're called. And these four wise men came to the Buddha and they said, we're trying to understand why all these different people have these different perspectives of God. And so the Buddha's like, okay, I'll tell you why. And so he blindfolds these men, and then he brings in this great beast, they say. And so they're all standing in front of this great beast, and they're like, and the Buddha says, so touch the beast and tell me what your experience is. And so one touches the beast and he says, oh my God, it's like this soft, like there's this long rope, and it's soft and it's strong, but it has like some fur at the end of it. And the other one, like, he's at a different end of the beast and he's touching it and he goes, it feels strong like a tree. There's this tree trunk here and it feels powerful. And there's like a leather texture to it. And then the other wise man touches it and he's like touching this soft, silky, smooth, flappy thing. And he's explaining the elements of that. And then they all take their blindfold off and they're all touching the elephant. And so it's like, from our minute perspective, we have these elements of how we interact with the divine, and our culture has something to do with it. Where we are in the world has something to do with it. But we all have an experience with it that we can speak on and try to tell a story about. But when you take the whole of it all and you hear all the different stories and perspectives, it kind of paints this picture of this great being. And the way that I look at the power of God today is that, like, the clay of consciousness, the clay of existence, the clay that sparks the magnetism of nature, the clay that sparks light, the clay that all atoms form from, is really it comes from the spiritual soup of the spiritual world. And so the perspective that I hold now has a lot to do with our minds being the way that we were created in the image of God, and the ability to manifest creation through our minds. Almost like this whole thing is a God dream, right? Kanye calls it a God dream.
Yeah.
If our whole experience is just happening in the mind of God, but it manifests as the material in our world, being able to tap into where our outpost is through our mind back into Yahweh, and being able to give our faith and our love and our praise to the Most High, and be able to be rewarded by simply being obedient. And I know that sounds wild. I think there's lessons to be learned in just being a humble
100%.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of where I'm back to now. I'm back to this idea of truly knowing the power of the mind. I think I left out my practice with science. I got my degree in psychology. I started to learn about a lot of things. I even got I even got into some of the darker things like occultism and how people like understand and practice demonology and learning. I didn't necessarily get into it, but in learning about it and understanding how those experiences are real and like negative energies and negative thought patterns, how those manifold. And I feel like I started to really become in tune with energies. And it was almost like the only way that I came back to really having power over that and over that negative world was coming back to Christ. Coming back to Jesus and really being able to put up a barrier from all that BS that's out there. Because the devil runs the playground, but God owns the building.
Come on, Kanye.
Excuse me. So, but it's been a journey, man. It's been hard. There are moments that it's tough, and you kind of lose sight of the faith that can really inspire and bring joy. But my practice and where I'm at has been powerful and supported by the people I love. So it's been good.
That's beautiful.
What do you do when you said sometimes it can be hard? What do you do when those times come in where your faith is tested? What practices or what do you do when you feel that your faith is dwindling, and what do you do to get with Christ?
I think that having a community and having people, not necessarily people that believe the exact same way that you believe, but at least people that care about you, they care about your journey. Even just like talking to my wife, and she knows me damn well, and she knows when I'm feeling a little outside of myself, what I need to do. And she just reminds me of, hey man, like what are your priorities? I think a simple one for me is like when I wake up, I sometimes have this ADHD brain that wants to like check my phone, check my calendar, check the schedule, pop on social media, and it becomes mindless. But when I'm intentional, and when I first thing I do is I read scripture, and then I meditate and reflect on that scripture, it sets off the environment, it sets off the energy for the rest of the day to just keep me rolling in the right direction. I'm sorry, guys.
You better go get some of that lemon water, G.
I'm getting emotional just talking about the spiritual journey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got something stuck in my throat.
Yeah.
But what I'm focused on mentally and where my mind and my intention are going with my practice, with tools that I know that I need to use and spend time there, meditation, being able to get a flow of, or a control of the flow of thoughts, to be able to have the ability to be the observer. I think when we get to thinking, our ego gets to just like all these thoughts come in, and the ones that we hold on to, they carry us further in the train. They can take us anywhere. And I think the process of meditation really allows you to catch and analyze those thoughts in the clouds, and pick and choose which ones are even valuable or deserve weight, and then move on to the next one. And then really tap into some internal feelings. And I feel like there's something inside of me. I've always called it neurokinetic energy, where I can get like goosebumps from my brain to my toes and back up again. That like really, it gives me a jolt, a juice that makes me feel like, hallelujah. I feel like I get this feeling of being able to almost see clearly. Like I can, my goggles, just the lens kind of clean up a little bit, and the thoughts that felt heavy all of a sudden don't feel so heavy anymore. And, the things that bring me joy kind of come back into light a little bit more brightly. And so when I'm feeling down, the focus of wherever the focus was that had me feeling that way, or like I was losing my practice, it quickly comes just by being in tune with scripture and by meditating. Those are definitely the important things for me.
I'm glad you brought up the fact of, waking up and not getting on those electronic devices. I think a lot of people, and I don't know, let me not even generalize. I'll just speak for myself. So like Bree and I now, my alarm goes off, obviously. I don't even touch my phone until I get to the gym. I started journaling in the morning. I get my prayer in, I do my little stretches and things, and it is crazy. And then I listen to a little bit of scripture on the phone too, just to help with my brain functioning also, kind of like how you were talking about the meditation piece and meditating on the words and what you hear.
Yep.
Because I think a lot of times anxiety, there's like you can get anxiety from all of the chaos flooding your brain right when
Mhm.
you wake up,
Yep.
because there's so many negative things, so many distractions. And, there are positive things on social media. We actually had a podcast about social media, the positive and negative aspects of it.
Yes.
But to flood your brain with all of that chaos, it's hard to then move on. And then I think Bree just said starting your day with your phone is the worst cortisol spike, and it right causes anxiety. So we've been doing like a lot of stuff around stress and cortisol. Bree's done a lot of work on keeping her cortisol in order and in line. So Will, I appreciate you speaking to that.
Yeah, man. I'm sure if we did experiments and this is something we should talk about in our future, like just being able to take some public information and something as simple as what are the effects of spending the first 5 minutes of your day doing that 30-second scroll and on random
Mhm.
information, as opposed to having maybe even, not every meditation isn't for everybody, but
Right.
something that is more concise and intentional.
Right.
If
Facts.
you have a
Mhm.
specific goal, maybe you're getting tidbits of information to get you closer to your goal. I would love to see what type of specific intentional activities are ones that are promoting us to be more in line with our stress, our goals, our intentions, and the type of practices that lead us into just like feeling dreadful throughout our day and it feeling like what the week is more chaotic than it needs to be.
Right. That's real.
100%. So I earlier you were speaking of, how do you back to kind of faith, but now faith in marriage?
Hmm.
How do you incorporate your faith into your marriage and in partnership?
That's been an interesting journey, and I think that as our relationship has gone on, we've spent a lot more time having these discussions, and I think it's a trip how God works and how we were brought together, because I think without actually knowing that we were pretty in line, we were very much in line. So her family comes from like an Orthodox Christianity. That's
Mhm.
more like Eastern Christianity. After the split of the Roman Empire, Russia and that whole eastern part of the world took on this form of Christianity. And there's some different principles about hell and damnation and how certain elements of the faith work. I talked a little bit about the dogma that comes with Christianity. So um, her and I are kind of on similar pages with how we operate and understanding the importance of keeping our hearts and minds open to those fruits of the spirit, right? That's love, faithfulness, empathy, compassion,
Mhm.
doing the right thing. So we find ourselves, I think anybody who's been in a long-term relationship knows that like the person that you love and adore the most is also like the person that annoys the hell out of you more than anybody. And I think for us, we've tried to keep some things in mind, and I think we pray together every day. That's something that we constantly do, whether it's the first thing that we do when we wake up or it's the first thing we do at night. We try to make that what we do. We try to make that part of the practice, just because we do feel like it breeds a solid foundation.
Yeah.
It's something just solid for us to know that like I want to speak on the psychology of it and what it actually
Mhm.
does to our body. I think there's
Yes.
something when you're holding someone's hand and you're reciting the words and you're repeating after each other or speaking from the heart. There's oxytocin, there's neurochemicals that get mixed that just bring you two closer together. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I feel it. I truly feel that. And so that's something we do. We try to meditate together often. Um, that doesn't happen as often, but it's something that we both practice. Our Bible study, we probably do that once a week or so. Um, but it could happen more. I definitely think that it happening more would be a super cool thing that would help bring us closer together more often, because we still get into it. We still get on each other's nerves. I think that's the nature of it. But
That's the nature of the game, baby.
yeah,
Shoot.
but with practice of the fruits of the spirit, that love, that empathy, just being able to show kindness and showing up every day, and the commitment is the most important part, right? I think that in this day and age, it's easy to dwindle on your commitment as time goes by, as pain gets experienced. But we've been pretty solid and fortunate that nobody's crossed a line that is something that we really have to struggle, to overcome. But we have had our
Right.
moments. We've gone through some things. We dealt with some family issues, and so.
Mhm. I
Yeah,
had another question. You kind of brought up at the beginning, if it's too personal, you talked about your relationship with your mom. And it's always important to kind of, like me and Tim, we go back to our parents too when we talk about things, because it
I don't
stretches
even fuck
our
with my
upbringing
mom.
and our thought process.
Well, they say that your mother's your first love, right? And
Mhm.
when there's
And
some
mine broke my
interesting,
heart. So
right? And I think I kind of have it too. But everybody has different issues. But the bottom line is, I think when young people have children and they're not quite mentally there, they're
right.
almost like still in this selfish mode where they're still
Yep.
worried about them. And that they
Mhm.
say that when you have a kid, that there's a switch that flips, and all of a sudden you become a selfless person. And I think it happens later for some than others.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think, I feel like my mom tried her best. My mom had me when she was young, 17,
Mhm.
but there was still a lot of selfishness and a lot of mental health work that needed to be done. And I'm proud of her now in these later years. But I think in the time that we went through it, she was looking for love in all the wrong places, and she was trying to, do the best being a single mom, raising a young Black man. And I think, a lot of the women that, might potentially hear this, raising single children of themselves, of Black men, like that's tough. You come from different worlds, trying to teach, you come from a white culture and you're trying to teach a young dark man how to understand how he's viewed and how the world looks at him. There's just a
Mhm.
lot of frustration that could come. I guess I want to keep there to be a clear scaffold of how I'm getting to where I'm going.
Mhm.
I think I had a lot of resentment towards my mom as a young person. And I was a lot of frustration. Even though she loved me, she looked out for me, she did what she could for me. It was
Mhm.
almost like it was never enough.
Yeah.
Like she could never just. There was always a mistake, and I think that there were some things where she was the type of person that would tell me what she thought I needed to hear to appease me.
Mm,
So it ruined trust. And I think I carried that into future relationships and felt like I could never really trust the words that were coming out of these women's mouth, that when they would say
sure.
them to me. And
Mhm.
that is really damaging. And I think it led me to make decisions that um, were pretty much self-defeating, because they didn't give a lot of opportunities where I said, hey, yeah, we're doing this, I'm trying. But then at the other side of things, my head wasn't committed. And I think since meeting Katie and just the love that's been there and the respect that we've had for each other and the family, that um, there's never been any of that. There's been a lot of full commitment, full faith. And so in this marriage, I've actually been able to do a lot of the psychoanalyzing of the relationship with my mom. Ironically, uh,
Mhm.
my mother and my wife are both Pisces. And so, like,
Pisces
understanding.
gang.
You're Pisces too? So, understanding some of the elements that they both have as their strengths and weaknesses. I mean, they're both
Mhm.
strong, dominant women, both very emotional, spiritual. Um, but very, like, I like to refer to the abyss, Tamika, if you know what I'm talking about, in the mind of a Pisces, because a Pisces is a water sign. And
Yes, go for it.
when we look at the abyss in the ocean, it's this deep, expansive place that, I mean, we probably know more about outer space than we do about the ocean. So
Yes.
trying to get into the mind of a Pisces is like trying to understand the ocean.
We're different. Our minds go way
Deep,
beyond.
bro,
yeah.
deep.
Yes.
So,
No, that's cool.
but yeah, it's been an interesting thing having that juxtaposition between my mother and my wife and I. I I think that in this day and age, it's rare to find a fully healed person.
Mhm.
But in the process of, like, being with my wife as she's going through her healing process, and the process of having a solid relationship with my mother now as she's advancing in her healing process, just seeing those two, how they relate, and being able to support both women and have those two women be my solid. When it comes to
Yeah.
women in my life, those are my two women. So
Yeah.
um, it's been really interesting that my relationship with my mother has gotten more solid since my relationship with Katie. Because of my love for Katie, it's really taught me to understand my mother more,
Yeah.
and I've been able to be a better son because of my wife. It's kind of a weird little thing, but it's been absolutely beautiful.
Awesome.
Well,
I
it makes sense because when you're able to find that love and compassion and empathy in your partner, who then still has the same traits as another woman in your life, you're like, it's almost like that. Where you wake up, look in the mirror, like, damn, how I'm over here with her, but I can't do this with my own mom. That's my
Right.
mom.
Right.
Yeah, I dig it.
Exactly.
That's awesome, though.
Exactly.
Good for you, Will.
yeah. Well,
Thank you, man.
something interesting you said that um you can never no one it's rare that someone can be completely healed. So with
Mhm.
that, and I agree with that. With that being said, nowadays we're talking about healing more and healing journey. And now people, when they're dating, going out dating, trying to find a spouse, they have these, standards. They're like, oh, I don't want anyone that's broken.
Mm.
They want perfection. And really, we all have lived, we all have something that's on us, even if we personally didn't do it. There's generational curses, there's things.
Yep. Yep.
So even for both of you, how is that, both of you being married men, how is it unrealistic to find this perfection in the person where you both have nothing, where you're completely healed? Where do you know it's okay to come together and you can support each other? Because again, a lot of women are like, nope, he has mommy's issues. That's a red flag. Everything's a
Mm.
red
Sure.
flag.
Sure.
Mhm.
So how do
You
you
want to
come
answer this one first,
together?
Tim, or you want me to get after
Bree said I found perfection.
it? I see that. I saw her in the chat.
I would say for me, it's um, I had to make the choice that I wanted to be in a relationship and be committed to a relationship. First, that had to be established in my brain before I even could even draw down. So once I was able to make that choice and make that decision, now it's finding a mate. I think for me, I wasn't rushed to like do X, Y, and Z to prove this or do that or slow down here because you both know I move fast. I don't stay in one spot. I'm always on the go. There's like certain things that I needed to learn, and that was my healing.
Mhm.
Bree has had some stuff in her past. She was in her healing journey when we met. However, I think I was in a different place of healing to where it's like now us together can form a true healing committed relationship where it's healthy
Mhm.
Okay.
and there's no past baggage from her hearing something about me in my past, me hearing something about her past. We were two separate folks from this different side of the planet who came together and were able to heal together where there wasn't any distraction or toxic negativity that could
Divide
interconnect
towards
within
each
what
other.
we got going on. And that's tough and it's hard to find. And that choice. Some people like I think we think about love in these relationships. I think people want to have it, but they still haven't made the choice themselves that they love themselves first to then love somebody else.
Mm, yeah, and Bree just said, yeah, we weren't holding things against each other.
That's a hard thing to do, is not hold things against your partner, especially, and like you brought up from the past too, because like if
Yeah.
you things from people's past can get involved and make you question things and all that. But I think you're spot on, Tim. I think how you talked about healing and loving, like you have to have a certain threshold of self-love,
Yep.
be able to be in a healthy
Mhm.
partnership love, you know.
Hmm.
What's the I think this my mom loves this show. I think it's called RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh,
And
I just read
at the end of
RuPaul. Guys, listen to RuPaul's memoir. So good.
is good.
Or read
Okay, well, at the end, she says, if you
it.
don't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And every time I heard that, I go, yeah, that's the truth, man. Because if you kicking yourself and beating yourself up, all you're gonna do is beat somebody else up with you.
Right.
And I think to answer the same question, it, for there's certain standards. I think like nobody's fully healed. I almost think
Right.
like when we talk about being a self-actualized human being, it's like asymptotic. Like the closer you get to being fully actual, like it just gets further and further away, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
So like there's always something to heal. And I think there comes a point where you meet your own standard of, okay, I can live with this right now. Like, yes, I'm still learning, but I can deal with this and I'm happy with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think when you meet somebody else that you might have an attraction for and you present yourself, they look at it too, like, okay, I can either deal with that, or you know what, that's a red flag. I'm running from you, bruh. And I think as we go through that dating phase, and we're trying to present ourselves to another partner and learn about each other, that's a really unique place to be, right? Because if you aren't healed, you're going to probably do some pretty toxic things in that phase that are going to probably shy somebody away from you and make them feel like, no, I don't want to run that race, you know. Or you put your best self together for long enough to get someone to find commitment in you and believe in you, and then like they're all of a sudden the momentum of them believing in you got you believing in yourself, and you're just making it do what it does, you know. You just keep the train rolling. And then the commitment grows and the bond grows from there. But I think the truth, Tamika, is anybody looking for a fully self-actualized person, good luck. That's a hard thing to find. But I'm sure that there is always someone that will meet your standards to loving you the way you deserve to be loved.
Yeah, I would agree.
I like
But
that.
that's also hard to find.
Yeah, it is indeed.
But it's worth finding. I think that's the one thing where people settle. Like when we say looking for love in the wrong places, I think we sometimes we see that presentation and we like the song and dance, but then we see some of the underwriting and we're like, no, that's kind of fishy. But you know what? The song's real good, so I'm still here listening. And then all of a sudden, like the things start happening under covers, and you start having your heart broken in ways that you don't deserve, but it's because you settled for that. You saw what was kind of happening underneath the writing, but the song just had you mesmerized. And now you're sitting there with your heart broken because you chose the wrong one to love, because you didn't love yourself enough to say, hey, let me dig more here. Let me ask more here. I'm enthralled. I'm entertained. I'm happy. And a lot of people do that. That's a fair thing. A lot of people do that.
Bree said, loving you the way you deserve to be loved. She quoted you. Yes. 100%.
Mic drop.
That's what we all want, man. Everybody just wants to be loved the way they deserve to be loved.
Yes. So we have a little game. Well, I don't know if it's a game, but they're quick questions. It's
Rapid fire?
It's rapid fire.
Uh-oh.
Yes. So it's the divine honey final pour.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you the first thing that comes to mind.
Like one word or like one sentence?
It could be anything you want. Just the first thing you think of, you say it. It can be a sentence. It could be a word.
I could break into a freestyle or a song. No, I'm kidding.
Anything.
However you got to get down, baby. Whatever.
All right.
Okay. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Here we go.
Okay. So if you could describe yourself in one word, what would it be and why?
One word. A ball of energy. Like a Goku going, because why? Because I think that I don't want to say spitfire. I am a very energetic, loving person. And I think anybody that I come into contact with, you either like when you touch it, you're like, oh, or sometimes you touch it, you're like, whoa, that's a lot. That's a lot of energy. I don't know if I can handle all that, So I appreciate people like, my man Timmy here who can handle that energy, because I sometimes I bring
it. So what song feels like the soundtrack to your life right now?
Ooh. I gotta go with Forrest Frank. God is good all the time. If he ain't, then you lying.
So what drives you to keep pushing forward, even on a tough day?
I can't let my son see me fail. I can't let him see me quit. I want him to be inspired and know that my dad, I gotta be better than my dad. And I hope he sees it as a version of me that he's pretty proud of and has a lot of, like a high praise for.
Right on.
Yes. Okay. Who is your greatest inspiration and what have they taught you?
These are some new questions.
My greatest inspiration. This is tough to say the greatest inspiration, but I think one of the most artistically gifted I would even say like this is of our generation. He's probably one of the most popular. But Kanye West.
I already knew where he was going.
You knew it was. I think Kanye. Like talk about just somebody breaking the molds. Somebody who's gone through it, like from through the wire when he was in the car accident to when he lost his mom to after rocking with Ye at the top of the world to losing his wife to being back down here. Just like the story that Kanye tells is one of us. I think of the human race at this period of their life of like we're meant to triumph right now on this God dream. We on an ultralight beam. We on an ultralight beam.
This
This
is
is
a
a
God
God
dream.
dream.
This is a God dream. This is everything.
Well, so what is the boldest, most daring dream you've ever imagined for yourself?
I want to end the federal income tax for every man, woman, and child in the United States of America. Honestly, I think like a certain level of freedom, like being able to be a sovereign from this like tyrannical government and avoid taxes and be able to like not be under the realm of the IRS. Like nobody wants that. Nobody, everybody, yeah. That's my big dream. I would like to be able to like bring God's kingdom back and end the dollar. Bring people back to bartering, people growing food again, trading services.
Mm-hmm.
We need it.
Random. You said first, it didn't come to my head.
First thing, yes, I love it. Okay, so how do you hope to be remembered by future generations? What do you believe is your true calling or purpose in life?
If there's one thing that I could be remembered for future generations, I think I want to be able to change the way that we educate young people. I think that for some reason, the way that modern education works, it's been put back into the hands of the public school. And I, you know, as a public school teacher at one point in my life, I know that everyone in that building loves what they do and they put their passion and their divine ability. And I think so. You know, you might disagree. And I think there are times where we see people at their lowest selves, but I think people sign up for the gig to be able to bring forth their gifts to the young people.
I would agree.
And I think that I want to do it because I feel like I've got some insight. And it, you know, people like you were part of that insight, where there's just a certain way to go about training a human mind and getting them to actualize their potential. And it starts a lot with self-discovery and understanding before it gets into a lot of the teaching that we do at a young age.
Right.
And I know that families are different. Everybody's got different ideas, but I think that there's something that's coming around the corner that I think that I can maybe champion in the world of how we create individualized education from K through 12. That can hopefully bring Americans back to a certain place, or whoever wants to service back to a place where by the time they're 14, 15, they're at the top of their academic, you know, food chain and being able to actually answer some of the world's toughest questions and solve with ingenuity by the time they're 18, 19, 20, really doing powerful things as opposed to finally figuring out how to be an adult at 28. You know?
That sucks.
Yeah.
So I went through it too, man. That's just the culture. I think are we millennials? Are we all millennials here?
No,
yes, I'm an old millennial. I'm still in the realm of millennialism. I'm an older millennial.
So we're in that weird age where we know life before technology and before the internet, and then now with so I think that things have changed for the interestingly, and it's going to take men like us that really care about the well-being of our world. Because what do they say? They say good men make good times make weak men make tough times make good men.
You're dropping all the little quotes and gems.
So I think we're just at a part where we got tough times. We see the world outside of us, but I think that, you know, it's building good men. It's building good men that want to be a part of their families, that want to see their communities risen to a higher level of you know, beautiful life.
Yeah.
So.
And I actually asked you two questions at once. So the other one was, what do you believe is your true calling or purpose in life?
To change the status quo. I think that's it. Yep.
Change it up, baby.
Yeah.
Shake it
I
up.
went the old in with the new progressive, but because I'm the progressive conservative. If that sounds, I'm trying to progressively bring it back old ideas with a new twist to really relate to us as people today. Because ain't nothing wrong with the fruits of the spirit: love, empathy, joy, kindness,
Yeah, facts.
gratitude, faithfulness, and all that.
Yeah.
That's old. That's all old knowledge.
Yeah, right.
And we need more of it.
Hmm.
So, if you could hear one sentence from God at the end of your journey, what would it be?
My son, your path on karma is done, and you are now one with me forever.
Ooh,
Ooh,
that's heavy.
Yeah.
that's heavy.
I'm trying to end this karmic circle of just living life over and over again to learn these lessons. And I would like to learn the lessons and impart that in my soul so that when this life ends, I don't want to say worthy of the recollect, but I think that like we
Yeah.
all go back to source at the end. And I think if you like degraded your spirit throughout life, I think it's kind of like, we're going to recycle this one and it gets to go back to life again and figure out
Mhm.
that path. I've read some interesting books that kind of talk about reincarnation, so I have an interesting perspective, but I do believe in it. I do believe that we do this till we get it right.
And then, I always say there are some, some people when things happen, like, this is just my lesson. This is just my lesson. But there's some lessons you don't have to learn. You have
Right?
free will. You know?
I mean, especially in today's age, we can see so many lessons learned the hard way that why continue to hit our head up against the rock if we
Right.
don't
Come
have
on.
to?
Come on.
Yes. Well, Tim, do you have any more questions for Will?
Nah, bro. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks for having me. I
Thanks
had
for
fun.
coming out your comfort zone and getting on here.
Yeah, it was cool. We hung out. We kicked it.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, Will, do you have any last words for us or any call to action?
Mm.
Honestly, I hope that you guys continue to bring out the message of finding just people to come on the show to express their best experiences, their life journey, and adding to your viewers' experience of their own. Just like we said, the life lessons don't have to be learned hard. We talked about looking for love in the wrong places. I hope that people become a little bit more um, concrete with what they allow in their lives, and that they love themselves fully so that they don't allow someone to disrespect them and mess up their peace.
Mhm.
So the call to action is what Bree quote: loving you the way you deserve to be loved. Find that. That's the call to action. If you see this episode, find the love you deserve.
Yeah, straight up. Straight up. Pew, 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 pew.
Thank you. I hope you will come back sometime in the future. Maybe we'll do a panel. We'll do some other things, but I hope
Okay.
you will come back and see us again. Um,
I would love that. I stay tuned in. I try to watch the episodes. I see some viewers that mutual friends and people I respect. So
Yeah.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you so much. If you guys enjoy this show, please like, share, and hit the notification button on YouTube. You can also listen and follow and rate the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Those links are in the About section. I will also put them in the comment section. And also, Will, if people want to reach out to you, where can they reach out to you at?
I think I shared my handle on the thing. It's Mr.
You got the thing up, Tamika.
Oh, I do. There it is. Oh, I don't see
Sometimes
your.
I forget my own handle.
Hold
I
on, let
think
me
it's
take your
Mr.
handle down.
There it
Yep,
is,
there
Mr.
we go.
underscore Jackson 42. That's my IG. I post things about my life, things about my thoughts that I care about. Me and Timmy, we probably communicate more on IG than we do. Just sending memes back and forth that provoke thought, provoke laughter, provoke those fruits of the spirit.
Thank you. Well, if you guys are interested in or know anyone who's interested in being a guest on the podcast or have topics that you want us to discuss, you can email me at bougiegirl@gmail.com, BOOSHEGURL @gmail.com. And until next time, you guys, peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.